hosted by Maya Van Rossum
Anneke Van Rossum.
and we are looking at environmental and social justice issues through a generational lens. Did I do that right, Anneke?
Perfect.
Anneke does that much better than I do, but
I didn't think so.
I'm practicing. So, Anneke, I have this week's fact check.
Yeah.
You do not know what it is. You're going to be surprised.
Oh, man.
In a bad, pukey kind of way.
I feel like I'm always surprised in a bad, pukey kind of way.
So you can respond spontaneously.
Okay.
So this episode will be airing soon. So this will still be very relevant at that time, but it is something that happened in recent days that was reported on CNN. And CNN reported that a federal judge in Missouri issued an order, I'm reading from their article, issued an order Monday, partially blocking the Biden administration from implementing a vaccine mandate for certain healthcare workers. The judge's order, which covers the 10 states that brought the case, played down the effectiveness of the vaccines, COVID vaccines, and said that the, quote, public would suffer little, if any harm, from maintaining the status quo through the litigation of this case, end quote. And then they went on to question whether or not vaccines help to prevent, quote, disease transmission by those vaccinated, end quote. And so this fact check is just to be very, very clear that the COVID vaccine does in fact not only reduce hospitalizations, reduce death, prevent people from getting COVID at all, but it does in fact reduce transmission, and that there is plenty of scientific evidence on this front, and that in fact immunizations reduce the chance of virus transmission by between 40 and 60%. And so that means if someone became infected after being vaccinated with the COVID vaccine, then they are only about half as likely to pass their infection on to others as compared to infected people who weren't vaccinated. That's what the science says. So the fact check is that yes, in fact, getting the COVID vaccine not only reduces your chances of getting the illness, but if you do get the illness in a breakthrough case, reduces your chances of having to be hospitalized, prevents you from dying, and does in fact reduce transmission. And so in my personal opinion, it is absolutely not just absurd, but obscene that healthcare workers are not in fact required to get the COVID vaccine, because I don't want to be treated by any doctor or any nurse or come in contact with any healthcare worker when I'm sick if they haven't been vaccinated. So that's your fact check, Anneke. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of disturbing. I think that like part of the reason for the mandate would obviously be because there are people that are in the healthcare profession that still wouldn't just like go get it. And that's what never makes sense to me, because I'm like, why are you even in this field then? Because like that's all you do is like use science and different kinds of medicine to get people, make people better or help people, and you're like just not going to get a like 2-time shot. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of dumb. And also like, I wouldn't want to be treated by someone because it like, I mean, at a minimum, we know how infectious this disease is. And so if you're in the hospital, you're already in like health concern code red area, like you're already you're already compromised in some way. So the fact that like you could be being treated by somebody that isn't vaccinated, and like, what if you are in there and someone has cancer and they're going through chemo, or you have young babies, like just even if you're not, the person isn't on the maternity ward, it doesn't mean they're not going to interact with somebody who's on the maternity ward. And as we know, like breakthrough cases do happen with vaccinated individuals. So you're just increasing those chances of even someone who is vaccinated passing that along.
Yeah, I just think it's super scary. And as you well know, my son, your brother, is in fact immunocompromised.
Yeah.
And while on all fronts, he seems super healthy and super happy, he is very prone to getting very serious cases of pneumonia, right? Which is a lung disease. And I mean, it affects your lungs. And that's one of the things that COVID really attacks. And so, for them to get COVID is really, really bad. And if he were to have another case again this year of pneumonia that hospitalized him, which has happened multiple times, and some unvaccinated healthcare worker came and exposed him to getting COVID, I mean, they are very literally putting his life on the line for their selfishness. As you said, if you want to work in the healthcare field, go get vaccinated. And if you don't believe in science and you don't believe in the medicine, the healthcare field that you work in and the value of medicines, then do another job, but don't put people's lives at risk because of your personal political beliefs, which I think on the most part is what it is. Now, there may be situations where, of course, you do have exceptions. You have people themselves who may have some perfectly valid reason for not getting vaccinated. Okay, but then still stay away from my son.
Yeah.
Stay away from people in the hospital. Do some other aspect of healthcare. But I mean, I just find it horrifying. And for this judge, who, by all accounts, from what I can tell, again, it's just a partisan issue. It's just a personal belief system, not an understanding of facts and science. For them to be misusing their position to put people's lives at risk, I just think it is offensive. And again, it is obscene and it is wrong. And I just felt the need to do that fact check today.
No, I think it's good. I mean, I think with the new variant that we all know about, it's like more important now than ever. If you can get vaccinated, do it. If you are, I think it's after, if you got vaccinated, if your second dose was before June 1st, go get your booster if you can. And I think at the end of the day, it's also like, it's not just, I always tell people, if it's not for my own sake, it is like, it's for them. It's for other people who can't, because there are people who can't get vaccinated because they're immunocompromised or whatever the reasons are, but like they want to, but they can't. So you might as well get vaccinated for them. And again, too, it's like vaccines aren't a new thing, guys. Like I guarantee most of these anti-vaxxers, if I pulled out any of their medical records, they have like all the shots that we've all had to get since we were like born. So
yeah. And again, there are always exceptions, but that's not what we're talking about here. So there's your fact check.
There's our fact check. So I think
seeing as we do the environment, but we also do other important social issues. And given that the climate crisis is, magnifying things like COVID, right? Like serious diseases that we know about and don't yet know about. And given that environmental pollution and degradation makes people, particularly environmental justice communities, more at risk from the consequences of COVID, both getting it and then the more serious ramifications of having COVID. This is all in the environmental stream of thinking and consciousness. And it's about social justice and protecting people and caring about people and being a decent person, for criminy sakes. So I just felt I had to bring it up.
I thought it was good. I think it's a good one.
Awesome. So I am also going to announce today's topic, because as Anneke knows, on my way to my morning exercise, I pulled over. Yes, I did pull over because I had to send her a text message right away and say, this is our next podcast topic. And this was the next podcast. So there we go. Because I heard on the radio an advertisement for a new show that made me want to throw up. And the title of the show is The Hunt for Planet B. And it's all about scientists hunting for Planet B, another planet where what they say on their quest to find another Earth among the stars. And as they talked about it all about having another planet where people could go and people could live and people could be. And I just find it morally reprehensible there too, because we really, as you know, Anneke, how many times do we go to a protest and either we have or somebody else has a sign that says there is no planet B? In other words, let's take care of the planet we have rather than continuing to desecrate it and find some other planet out there in the wherever that we can go inhabit after we crap up this planet. We can go there and crap up that planet and destroy it as well. And then what, are we going to be searching for planet C? So this show just really bothered me and really ticked me off, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't really. So when you brought it up to me, I was like, okay, so I did, because who was it? Jeff Bezos recently was the one who went into space. And I feel like there's always these like jokes about the billionaires going into space. And like, but I looked up, I wanted to see the net worth of like, so it's Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, and Elon Musk are those three that have like all gone to space or have their affinity for space and whatever. And collectively, the net worth of them, the three of them, is $400 billion. And like, they're the ones, and my problem isn't, first off, I've read a lot of things that are like, billionaires shouldn't exist. Like, there's this whole thing that's just like, you're just hoarding wealth at that point. And so a lot of my friends and I too have just been the like, it's going to space because they're like, what else can I spend my absurd amount of money on? And it's just like the test of how fast can they burn holes in their pockets. But what infuriates me about that number is that beyond just the hoarding wealth, is they're the ones that are like, space is the new solution. I'm like, but what about putting that money to, why don't you at least like put even a third of that? Well, they should put all of it, but at least like a third of that to trying to solve the world's problems now. And then if we couldn't do it, you could like push your space thing. I don't advocate for Planet B at all, but I'm just saying, like, you're not even trying to help solve the problems on this earth. You're just immediately like, let's go here. And they have a crap ton of money to spend. And that's what I can't stand about everyone that's like, oh my God, these celebrities are so great for the world. And they're doing like, they could spend so much more money, donate so much more money, and still live decent, cushy lives. And so that 400 billion was very alarming to me.
I mean, and one of the biggest things in terms of the climate crisis, right, is we have to get not just to net zero, but we have to get to absolute zero when it comes to, getting off of dirty fossil fuels and climate changing emissions. And we don't have any more till 2050. We're looking at 2030. We better make substantial, if not total progress by 2030, or our future Earth really is in tremendous jeopardy, as are the people, plants, and animals that inhabit this Earth. So we don't have much time. And one of the most critical parts of the solution are to get people off of fossil fuel burning cars, fossil fuel burning homes, right? Get them onto clean energy options, get electric cars out there into the world, get homes electrified, and get our energy sources being made by wind and solar and all of these other options. And the biggest things that are holding us back are, number one, politicians, because they're putting in place bad rules, right? They're putting in place laws and regulations and tax incentives and all these other kinds of things that are designed to continue to boost the fossil fuel industry and hold down the clean and renewable energy industry. So we need more money to get good politicians into office. But the other thing is, we need more money to be invested in electrifying our world and then getting that electricity created by clean and renewable energy options. And that all depends upon money, money, money. That's why the Congress is talking about this Build Back Better legislation and the infrastructure legislation, to the extent that it has some elements for good climate solutions as opposed to dirty fossil fuels, which the infrastructure bill does also include. But money is what's needed. And as you said, these guys, and they are guys, these guys got money. So you know what, guys, stop investing it in your few minutes to spin around the earth. And as you said, come back down to earth and make an investment in the people and the planet and the critters and what is morally right here. Invest in clean and renewable energy options. Help us get off of dirty fracked gas, fracked oil, fossil fuels. They can make a change with those hundreds of billions of dollars. And it does really break my brain that they care so little about everybody else and so much about their own personal recreation time that they wouldn't do that.
Well, and it's just too, like, when we were talking about the carbon capture episode of like acknowledging that, not everybody can get solar panels on their house. Not everybody can afford an electric car, but like, that's what we're advocating for too, is like put in, make a subsidy so that everybody in each town, whatever, can get 3 solar panels on their house or like whatever. And so I just, if they donated this money to the communities that live around them, they're like, I'm going to put this towards however many houses to get these solar panels on them, whether to run the full house, to run essentials, whatever we need. Like anything is better than nothing. And it just, yeah, it's just like they're not even doing, like they're not scientists. I get that they're business savvy, but they're not smart. They're not the ones actually like creating the whole plans. And so that's what you're like annoys me more. Is like, yeah, it's just a joyride. It's not like you're going and like, I'm gonna go meaningfully, like, you know what? If you really want to test that, go spend your money and you go live on Mars for a year and then come back and tell us. And actually I was curious. So I was the Baltimore Sun had a little report on like the reality of living on Mars. And one was that Mars has 38% as much gravity as Earth. So humans would quickly see their muscles shrink, their hearts grow weak, and their bones deteriorate. Then there's low atmospheric pressure that would make a walk in the pale Martian sunshine a bit unpleasant. And there was another thing I read about the ground is actually like radioactive or contaminated. Oh, I can't remember the name of what it is. And it was like, oh, but you could like wash it away, but then where are you going to get all the water from? And so it's not even like we would hop on Mars and be like, good to go, same, just rebuild. Like, so I would love for them, if they're going to keep advocating for space, why don't you 3 go live there for a little bit and then come back and let us know, rather than just circling around.
Well, that's why they have to find their planet B, their Earth. I'm with you. Take that money and go into environmental justice communities, go into low income communities, go into urban communities, go into, in rural indigenous communities, put solar panels on the roofs of these people, because not only would you be helping with the climate crisis, but you would be helping them get economic justice, because they would have more affordable electricity, because they would be having electricity made from the sun, right? And, so there are ways to not just help with the climate crisis, but help with environmental justice, social justice, economic justice, generational justice, climate justice, all in one fell swoop. And you're right. I mean, Dave, as you know, your bonus dad, my husband, what Dave always says about billionaires, just what you were saying about how there shouldn't be any billionaires. He's always said that. He said that the reason why Bill Gates has so much money and Jeff Bezos and all these people have so much money is because they're paying their workers too little money. Mm-hmm. And if they would pay their workers a fair living, more than a fair living wage, a good wage to have good quality of life, not only would they be really supporting the lives of all of those people, but they would be helping the economy for everybody. And when we help the economy, right, we provide so many other benefits, as long as we do it the right way, right? That we're, doing things by really investing in good economic advancement and development. But if you give people a good living wage, there's so much to be accomplished. And okay, so then you're only going to have half of your hundreds of billions of dollars. Big friggin' deal. You're not going to spend it all anyway. But Dave has long said that these people have too much money because they pay their workers too little. And that's just fundamentally wrong.
Well, and I take all those, like Jeff Bezos, I'm sure someone will listen to this and go like, well, Amazon pays their workers $15 an hour. I think at least that's what those commercials say. And I still take it with a grain of salt, because I feel like I hear too much still about like, but the hours are ridiculous and the workers are mistreated. And I'm still like, okay, you're paying them $15 an hour, but could you pay them more?
Yeah, like, clearly you could pay them 30. You could pay them twice as much. They would have a better life. $15 is not all that much. And it is not that much money if you have a family. It's not that much money if you're trying to get an education. It is, I mean, it is, people advocate for a minimum wage of $15 an hour, to try to help lift people up out of poverty, not because we're getting good quality of life at $15 an hour. Yeah. So, I mean, that's like the bare minimum. And as you said, okay, so he's paying his workers $15 an hour. Well, he still has hundreds of billions of dollars. So he still has too much money. So you know what? Turn around and pay some more.
Well, and so I thought, Richard Branson,
tell me, tell me who this dude is, Richard Branson. I don't even know who this guy is.
He's
But
at
every
like,
picture I looked at him when he did his little, space shot, right? Like
Yeah.
he blew his load up into space. He had was sipping his champagne and he had this stupid smile on his face. It just made me so angry. And I'm like, and I don't even know who you are, dude. So who is this guy?
I can't believe you just said blew his load.
Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking about, to get up.
I
to
know, that's
speed.
just funny. That's a good little tidbit for listeners. Good if you have children watching. Anyways, so he's like the Virgin Airlines, Virgin Frontier Airlines guy. He has like a airline. I like I said, it's like these are people. I'm sure someone would love to research this and be like, you don't even know his company. I don't care because I don't have time in my life to spend researching these people. I read an article that intrigues me about who they are and their issues, and that's it. But I don't have a notebook of everything that Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk do because I don't really care. Because I wish they
Although
would.
I will say, okay, he has way too much money.
I would care if they did good stuff. Then I'll research them till the end of the day.
That is the only thing. So on Elon Musk, it does not excuse. I think all of this is grotesque. The only thing that I can say about Elon Musk, though, is that I do think that because of him, that the electrification of cars is leaps and bounds ahead of where it would have been. That does not excuse his bad behavior on this front one little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great that he put time into making the Tesla and designing different models and all that. And I think that's wonderful. And yeah, I do think it's like catapulted the world of electric cars being a reality a lot faster than we thought. Because I think too, now I see way more Teslas than I ever imagined. But like still, he's got that much money. Like, okay, Elon, let's make it affordable for more people to get it, or for public transportation to start using your technology for buses and trains and all that stuff. So like that's it's great. And so acknowledging that, but there's more to be done. And if you have that much money, you could do more. Also, Elon's Twitter cover photo, I did look. It's a picture of Mars in like 4 phases. So it's like, and it's basically Mars phasing into like, it looks like Earth, which is,
oh my God.
So I think the thing is, it's an unrealistic expectation of people too, that we would go to Mars and like, it would be like Earth. It's not, it's a totally different planet. And like I just said, there's even a different gravity. So it's just like,
well,
it's not going to change.
Yeah, no. And I hear you on, I guess what I've heard most about, and what this stupid show Hunt for Planet B is about, is it is literally exploring all over wherever in outer space to try to find another version of Earth. And then, and really, like when I mentioned it to Dave, like what as Dave said, he's like, and what, like how such hubris, people are so like, what makes us think that if there's another Earth populated with living beings, that they want us to come visit them? Because they'll just see what we've done to our Earth and be like, no thanks, don't want you coming here. I mean, I think it's just like, I looked up numbers too, Anneke. I want you to know I looked up numbers too. So here's the numbers I came up with. So for Jeff Bezos, his 4 minutes in space.
Yeah.
Guess how much?
I don't it's probably, is it billions? It's definitely billions, like 3 billion.
5.5 billion.
What? For 4 minutes? Oh my
God. For 4 minutes. And that stupid Branson dude.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, one of the things apparently he says is, well, wouldn't it be great if everybody, regardless of the color of their skin, everybody has access to space?
I was going to say, this is my quote. I have his exact quote of that.
Go ahead. Say it.
And this is my thing, is this whole idea that like, we're going to be on another planet, and that somehow, some way, like all the crappy things that we've done to Earth and all the crappy behaviors we hear, like we're going to be on Mars and be like, whoa, let's not do that again. Like, it's not going to happen. So his quote, and he got super dragged for it, was, imagine a world where people of all ages, all backgrounds, from anywhere, of any gender or any ethnicity, have equal access to space. And they will in turn, I think, inspire us back here on Earth. And I would like to be very clear. So first off, BS, dude, because why hasn't that happened now then? We know, it is a fact, and everybody knows how awful we have been to Indigenous communities, BIPOC communities, all that. And it's more apparent than ever. And we're still having to fight about putting, like, I hate calling it critical race theory because I don't think it's that. It's the accurate history of the United States. When you go to college, it's critical race theory. In high school, it's the accurate history of the United States. We're still fighting about that. So that's not going to change just because people went to Mars. And I think too, it's just like, it is this very, they're not going to provide, if you're not giving free Teslas or like cheaper Teslas to people, why am I going to believe that a ticket to space is going to be affordable for anybody who's not in the millionaire, billionaire category?
And in fact, you know what that ticket is right now?
Oh God, more than I can afford.
Apparently 600 people have already signed up, 600 people with way too much money. $250,000.
Wow.
So sure, anybody, hey, $15 an hour, right? It's being paid by Amazon. You could go on to the Branson,
right?
whatever. Like,
maybe that should be in every Amazon's workers contract, is you get to the free ticket space.
Like, and you know what's even like, I mean, I don't even want to say it's more offensive. Like every bit of this is offensive, but to layer on top in terms of this Branson dude. Okay. So for the launch facility in New Mexico, where he shot off from, right? The taxpayers of New Mexico are the ones who paid for that facility, who paid $220 million for this guy's launch facility, so he could have his little fun time up in space, right? Like, that is even more offensive. You have billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, right? And you're making all these claims and having like whoop-de-doo times. And you are expecting the people of New Mexico to pay for the infrastructure so you can blow off into space. I just, like, that is like even offensive on top of offensive.
I don't get it. And I mean, I think it's just one of those, again, it's like, it's not going to a different planet doesn't solve the issues we've created here. It's just like with, like, if you don't get to the root of it, it doesn't change. And I thought there was I'm quoting a lot of people today in this episode. So Jill Tarter, who's an astronomer and former director of the Center for SETI Research, and she said, there really is no planet B for us unless we figure out a way to solve all of the global issues that we face here and mitigate those challenges. Wherever we go, we'll create the same problems that we've done here on this planet. There's no escape hatch. And I was like, exactly.
So there are two like movies out there, right, that the movie world created that sort of speak directly to this point. There's that movie Avatar, right, where they find another planet where people live in peace and harmony with nature, and then some like industrial complex military thing goes to blow them all up to make money. So there's that one. And then there's the other one. What's the other one? It's the kids movie.
Fern Gully?
No, not Fern Gully, where they go. Wally, where people have crapped up the earth so much that they actually are forced to go live in a spaceship for eons and to periodically check back on Earth to see whether or not life is growing so that they could return to Earth. And in fact, are up there in space for so long that none of them really knows what it is. And they've all become lazy blobs laying around on chairs. I mean, so I think that those are two prescient films, that really speak to this issue, that just like that quote you said, people are crapping up the earth. We are abusive to one another. We are abusive to Mother Nature. We are abusive to Mother Earth. We are abusive to wildlife. We are abusive to plant life. We're abusive to the climate and to the soils and to the trees and to the rivers. And we're abusive to one another. And to think that it would be appropriate for us to find another place in space out there in outer space where we could just pick up from here and go there and somehow life would be different. That is absurd, number one. And number two, if there is another place where there's life on Earth, they don't want us there.
Yeah.
Because probably and hopefully they've done a better job at respecting their nature and their people and the other creatures that share the earth, their earth with them. And they don't want us coming and destroying it. If we can't figure out how to preserve Mother Nature here and respect nature and people here, we don't deserve a planet B. And the problem is, the thing is, and even as I say that, the problem is there are so many good people here who do deserve, who do want to do right, who are working day in and day out to protect nature and to protect people and to secure true social justice and environmental justice. And we are being prevented, all of those working towards that are being prevented from succeeding because of greedy profiteers like Donald Trump, like those in the fossil fuel industry, like legislators like Senator Yaw in Pennsylvania and Senator whatever Utachek in Pennsylvania, right? And what's that dude in Congress that I can't stand, the faux Democrat? Manchin, right? Like Manchin, who claims that he cares and is just earning for himself incredible amounts of money on the fossil fuel industry and then working to undermine protections by the rest of us so he can continue to make money. And so it's like there are many, many, many people who deserve, who are working hard for a safe, happy, healthy earth for all, and who are being prevented from accomplishing that goal by a relatively limited few who are in power, but they, for some reason, continue to have the power. And it boggles the mind that they're going to stay in power because so many of them right now are just straight, flat out liars. And that there are other people who, for some reason, are accepting their lies as truth when objectively it's not. I don't know what is happening, but it is not acceptable to think that we could take people from this earth and inhabit somebody else's earth and inflict all of this damage on some other natural ecosystem and community of, they wouldn't be people, maybe they would be people, but living entities.
Well, I just don't get to, like, it's, for me, I don't know why you would want to leave Earth, like why anybody would be like, let's not work as hard as we possibly can to fix this like beautiful planet we live on. And I think it just tells me that the people with the money and the people that are doing the like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson don't have that connection with nature. And they're one of those, like, I love your theory about people who don't hear the earth. Can you like tell, because I don't think they do. And I think that's a cool.
Oh, so, okay. So it is my belief that whenever anybody is born, they have a natural connection with the earth and with nature. They can hear nature through their hearts, through their bodies, right, through their spirit, and they can hear nature speak to them. It's one of the reasons why children care so much when they see a herd animal or are so enamored by a beautiful flower, right? That they like to climb and hug trees because people hear nature. But that I think what has happened over time is that human communities have inflicted so much harm on nature that nature is increasingly crying out in pain. And so a lot of people, right, are hearing that pain and it makes them angry. And it's kind of like when a child cries, there are some people who are nurturing and want to help the child find out what's wrong and make it better. And there are some that get angry at the child and scream and shake the child and just get angry and angry and angry. It's kind of like that those people that are so selfish that rather than hear nature's cries and want to help heal it, they turn off their capacity to listen. they get angry and they shut down. And then they feel so angry at the earth for making them be in this shut down mode that they don't even consciously realize is there, that they intentionally acting upon that anger, but not realizing it, or unintentionally, because they are so shut down, start to inflict harm on the earth. They go down, right? They cut down the forest, they pollute, they damage, they kill the wildlife, because they have lost their ability to connect with the earth. And for many, I think that ability to connect with the earth has made them angry, has made them broken on a very deep level. And then there are many of us, right, who can still hear the earth and can connect with the earth. And I believe that I am one of those people. I like to speak with the trees. I touch nature before I go and give a talk. I really feel like I connect with nature on a deep level. But there are some times when I go to have my time in nature to connect, and I can't feel her. I can't hear her. I can't experience that connection. And it's so frustrating. And I think that what happens is that I, like others, do hear the pain. And that pain can become so overwhelming that I, like others, need to just sort of close off for a minute, right? It becomes too hard to hear. And I sort of have to shut down for a little bit and regenerate and then reopen to nature. And so, and I think that there are those of us who appreciate and love that connection and get so much out of it. Even though it's hard to hear, that hearing of the pain drives us day in and day out to want to do better, to want to be better, to want to fight for the earth and heal the earth. And then there are those that just have this aggressive hostility and just want to inflict their pain and their anger from that loss of connectiveness. So I think that that's what you're talking about, is that.
Yeah, so I think they fall in that category. I mean, it's just, that's my only reaction, is like, I don't know how anybody would actually not want to stay on Earth. In the sense of like, wouldn't want to stay and fix everything and like make it a place, because it is such a beautiful, like, I think there is this, when we talk about Planet B, there's this idea, again, this idealistic view that like it would be the same as here, and like it won't. And I find it very hard to believe that there would even be this kind of like Noah's Ark concept, that like we would try and bring animals over. Like, I find that very hard to believe that would actually happen, just in terms of what people are actually willing to do. And also, like, you're not going to take animals and plop them on Mars and be like, okay, do what you did before. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So I just think it's dumb, and I think it's awful. I don't know.
No, and as you said, like, I mean, I look out at this beautiful Mother Nature. I look out at I mean, literally, I'm right now looking out at my garden. Okay, it's wintertime and everything's died back, but I see the beautiful red berries just waiting for the birds to swoop in and eat them, right? And I see the leaves left on the sweet bay magnolia and the buds that were there. And I can, imagine what it's going to be like in the spring and the summer, and I see a bird flying above, and it's so awesome and so beautiful. And it's like my home. I don't want to, I don't want to leave it. I don't want to leave this beautiful Mother Nature that is our home. Just like I don't want to leave the home that I live in, just like I don't want to leave my family whom I love. Nature is part of my family. And as you said, there may be another beautiful planet somewhere else that could sustain human life, but it wouldn't be our beautiful Mother Earth. And I want to stay here and heal this earth and care for this earth and love this earth, not abandon her and, kick her in the teeth and walk away.
There's no escape hatch.
Is that another, there's no planet?
No, that was just from the Jill Tarter quote. I mean, I think it's just like, we could talk about it for hours, but I feel like that's just where my brain is like, yeah, why would you want to leave? Why wouldn't you want to stay and fix it? And it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think, yeah, there is no planet B.
There is no planet B. So let's protect and love planet A, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, where we all live now.
And one of the great ways you can do that is follow our podcast. Go check out forthegenerations.org or DelawareRiverKeeperNetwork.org. Make a donation in memory of Planet A, to either organization. Yeah.
You know, it's year-end giving time, it's holiday giving time. And one of the best ways we can care for one another is to care for the earth. And as you said, you know, we all have so many things vying for our time. So it can be hard for all of us to do all of the things we want to do and that we need to do to care for Mother Nature. But, you know, just like I would love to care for, you know, homeless people and runaway children and those who don't have enough food. But because I dedicate my time to protecting nature in order to support those important needs and goals, I donate to the organizations that are doing that work. And so the flip is true for those of you who really care about nature, but don't have the time or knowledge or ability to do the kind of work that Anneke and I do day in and day out to protect the environment for all people. Then what you could do is you could support the work that we and others do. And at forthegenerations.org, DelawareRiverKeeper.org, both really powerful organizations, literally fighting day in and day out to save the world by saving the environment that we all depend upon. So maybe find a little extra generous spot in your heart and make a donation to one or both of those organizations. We'd really appreciate it. Share this podcast, get involved, and send us a message on social media. If you like what we're saying, you want to hear us talk about something else, we want to hear from you. The best way to reach Anneke and I is to follow us on @GreenAmendments on all the different social media platforms. You'll find us, send us a message, share your thoughts, share your feelings, ask for a show topic, and we'll be happy to connect with you.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.